Welcome to the Fermented Homestead. If you're new here, my name is Anna, and on this channel, I'm sharing our journey of learning how to turn our home into a homestead. Welcome to the weekly gardening vlog. I am just going to kind of show you, I've already done everything for the weekend. It was exceedingly hot, like it was ridiculously hot all weekend, and I was all I could do to actually get anything done in the evening, let alone try and film. So I just did the things. I'm going to show you what I actually did, and we'll do an update on the things that are growing in the garden. So the first place that we are going to start is right here. On the first bed here, we have these. It's, I can't remember what kind they are. I want to say that they were some kind of a Royal Snap 2 or something like that, a Johnny seed variety, I believe. And these ones are doing great. They're kind of, I'm not sure what they're supposed to do. Like, I could have sworn, there's so many mosquitoes. I could have sworn that they're supposed to be like pod peas, or not pod peas, but like the kind that you shell. I'm new to peas, so I don't know what they're called, but I'm pretty sure that they're supposed to like swell up, certainly because it is really, really just fibrous and is not very tasty, and it hasn't been even since before it got hot. So anyways, this guy's really going far. He's stretching. Go up there, buddy. There we go. So we have our beans. These things are finally taking off. These things were just like loving the heat. The top one is right there. Like, it's really gone crazy. And this is just the last couple of days. So obviously beans are very heat-loving plants. It was crazy. These ones I had to replant, so these ones are behind. These ones are maybe like a month behind because the slugs just obliterated them. And then over here, this whole thing, I just kind of sowed poppies. Like, I just threw them out there. I put them kind of roughly here, 4 varieties there, and then there. And I'm just kind of seeing what's going to grow. I honestly didn't expect them to grow at all. I thought they had to be cold stratified, but apparently not. So there we go. And then you can see over here, this is kind of turnips, rutabagas, some of the kale, things like that. And some of these are just getting eaten alive by aphids, and I don't have enough water pressure to actually be able to spray them off. Our well sucks right now. So I'm basically just leaving it as a bait plant and hoping that it will keep the aphids off my other plants, which seems to be working so far. I've got like 2 or 3 of these that are really like at the core, kind of getting eaten by the aphids, but most of them, at least for now, seem to be doing all right. And they're just delicious. I'm harvesting them and putting them in, just making like green stir fries, things like that. And then these loofahs are doing great too, which I'm really excited about. I tried so hard last year to grow loofahs and I couldn't get anything. And these ones seem to be doing pretty okay. I mean, they're already putting out tendrils. This one's already growing up. It's even attached. So pretty stoked about that one. And same thing here. This is just like collards and kale, and that's about it in this one. Collards and kale, various varieties, just coming through, harvesting them when I'm making my stir fries, and they're just been delicious. And some of them have bolted, and I've just picked them out, but for the most part, they're doing pretty okay. And then you can see kind of, let me show you this angle here. You can see the peas are definitely overspilling into the aisle, and obviously this is not a strong enough trellis. I won't be using that one. I don't think it's necessarily a fault of the actual, like, the trellis itself. I think it's the way that I've chosen to adhere it. I need to have, like, obviously I think it would help a lot if I had another one right here, kind of hold it up a little bit. And just making sure to plant shorter varieties, like not this tall telephone that's taken over the trellis here. Because the trellis is supposed to be for Kiko chrysanthemum, which are doing okay. They're doing pretty alright, especially considering how kind of half dead they looked when I planted them. They had definitely been a little stricken with something, and they were looking pretty kind of almost dead. But they're coming back, and they're starting to get really green, and I think they're going to take off any second now. And then these ones here, like, you can see how it's just super gangbusters. This has kind of been my favorite one. This one is like a golden snap. No, golden something. A golden Snow Pea, I think. This thing is delicious and it's hard to even keep up with. I come out here almost every single day, morning and or evening, and just kind of have a pretty good snack on peas, and I can't even keep up with this thing. I think I need to have other modes of actually consuming these, because just coming out here in the morning having snack is not cutting it. They're going nuts. And these ones are delicious. I don't even know what they are. What are they? Maestro shelling pea. So this is just the back side of that one I just showed you. And you can see this one is even going up even higher. It's actually extended. I can see if I can get you an angle. It's actually cut from the trellis here, and it's just like reaching even further to try and go higher. But we haven't actually put out any tendrils, or any flowers yet, so we'll see. But it kind of looks like they're starting to grow some flowers right here. We'll see what comes of it. And then right next to it, that's the bed we were just in. This bed here, this is the one that I overplanted quite a lot. Overplanted like a stupid amount. And I ended up putting beets in the middle all the way down. And then I put beets in between each of the tomatoes. And that's a mistake. I won't be doing that again. But they're still growing. I came through and I trimmed them all up, and I trellised them, and I kind of got them a little more airflow, but it definitely needs more. So I think I need to water these too. After that extreme heat that we had over the weekend, I think it's time for them to be watered. I watered them very deeply right before the heat, and then just kind of watching them, and they've been doing fine. This is kind of the first time they're starting to look a little wilty. So it's time to water them again. I'll probably do that in the morning. Getting lots of flowers. This one's pretty tall. This one's as tall as me. I mean, sort of as tall as me. It's in 18-inch tall bed, and then so it's me minus 18 inches. And these beans are definitely flowering. These ones are doing great, and these ones I actually planted after the pole beans, so I'm surprised they're flowering first. Especially, there's a lot of flowers on these guys. They're just doing great. So, but yeah, they're just doing fantastic. Definitely need water. I will be taking care of that. I'm really surprised how tall these beans are. These are supposed to be a bush bean. They're pretty tall. I almost think they were pole bean, but I mean, they're not putting out tendrils, so I know they're not pole beans. But I thought bush beans were a lot shorter. Maybe it's variety dependent. I don't know. But these ones here are doing really well. This is a Saccatas sweet melon. Got 3 of those on this trellis, and then just more. I mean, look and see how many flowers are on these beautiful, beautiful plants. I'm so excited. I'm hesitantly excited, especially given what happened last year. Everything started out pretty strong and then kind of just went to crap, so we'll see how it goes. I'm very cautiously optimistic with this, but so far I have been able to keep up with the garden. I've been able to keep them trellised, keep them trimmed up off the ground, watering when they need it, and all of those sorts of things. But it has definitely kind of stretched me to my limits a little bit. So that is definitely why, in case you haven't noticed, I have not been putting out any other videos other than kind of garden tours and what I'm doing in the garden. I am doing some other things, not a tremendous amount, but I just don't have the time to edit, and I don't have the time to do anything further. So I'm just kind of sticking to 1 day a week, and I really haven't even had time to be able to do the lives, so I'm sorry about that. I will try and get back to doing that, but it's just, this garden is just taking a tremendous amount of work for somebody who works full-time plus. So it's kind of stretched me to limits, and I really want to make sure that I have a really good harvest. I'm not willing to let my garden go if there's anything humanly possible that I can do to prevent it. So other content is definitely being compromised at the moment, but we'll be back with more. So this is the other side of the bed. There's no peas planted over here, and they're just doing great as well. They're just climbing up. You can see I'm trellising them. They got tons and tons. I mean, I'm in awe of how many flowers are on these guys. So I'm going to be going through again. I trellised these guys up probably, I'm trying to think. I think it was 3 days ago, maybe 4. And I think it's time to do it again. They're going like crazy. And these ones are doing great. This part fell. I'm not sure if it was like animal or heat that made it fall, but it did fall. So I don't know if it means anything. They're still alive. But yeah. And then this side here is Zucchino Rampicante. These ones I believe are supposed to be the kind that are going to trellis up this here and give the big, long, like bulbous ended squash. So I'm pretty stoked about that. And then wow, this is the other bed here next to it. And this one is cherries. And I had one plant on the other side over there, cherry tomato, that I had to pull, and that is it was starting to show disease signs, so I just pulled it. I wasn't about to deal with that. So I do have a couple of I'm letting this one kind of go a bit. Like, I'm probably going to pluck this guy off and plant it. I let it go. This is the first time I've ever tried to plant a sucker, so we'll see how it goes. When I do it, I'll show you how it goes at the end of the season. But yeah, I mean, we're just getting racks and racks and racks of flowers growing. This was not here 2 days ago. That is how much these things have grown. And I couldn't even, it wasn't tall enough to attach to the trellis. So that's why I had this thing here, because I didn't want it to blow over. So it's just crazy, the amount of growth. We haven't had hardly any water. Well, I shouldn't say that. We haven't had any water at all for the last couple of weeks, and it's just been super hot, especially so the last few days. Like, we got up, I know it's nothing for, people in the south, but we got up, I think it was like 107, and that's hot for us. We don't get that hot. And it was absolute torture because we don't have air conditioner in our house. We have it in one room, and that's my husband's like man cave kind of thing, because usually we don't need the air conditioner. It usually doesn't get very hot. It's not been an issue. And it was hot. I'll tell you what, our once it started to cool down outside and started to kind of get in like the 90s and stuff, like, our house was still blasted at like 106. It was miserable. So I really hope it's over, and I hope it never happens again. So, all right. So over here we have the Kajari Melons. These things, the same thing as the other side over there. They started out kind of diseased looking, like this one. And they're just they're starting to make their recovery. And it wasn't the transplant that made them like that. They were like that before I planted them. So they're just starting to kind of make a recovery, make a comeback. And then on the other side here are the digger melons. Those ones I planted because the Stivers Homestead recommended. And obviously the Kajari because Jess at Roots and Refuge recommended it. And then over here, I am insanely pleased to announce that I did not have a single cabbage bolt in all of this. None of the cabbages or the broccoli bolted in this weather. So, and I think that is due to the placement of these cabbages. They only really get morning sun. They don't really get the hot, scorching afternoon sun, because by then, the sun has already gone over the trees, and I think they just didn't get the real brunt of the weather, of the scorching sun kind of. And so these guys are all still growing. They're just doing fantastic, at least so far. We'll see how it goes. And then our peppers, so far they're doing okay. I'm really shocked at how well they're doing, given that they were dug up and replanted like 5 separate times. So yeah. And then over here we got all these guys need to come through. Same thing, like these ones with the few days ago when I trellised these up, they were not tall enough to attach to the trellis. And they're going nuts now. It's just wow. And some of them have a really weird, I don't know if it's the heat. Part of me is concerned that it's a herbicide that might have been in the soil that I got, but a lot of them are kind of growing with that kind of a growth pattern, but they are straightening out, but they start out like that. So I don't know what's happening with that. And then here, the Armenian yard longs, they're just getting going, and I'm coming through every night and putting the cover on them, and taking it off every morning. and it seems to be keeping them safe from the slugs. We'll see how it goes. And then this one is another Armenian yard long. It started out much taller. So these things, they're really going towards the trellis, and I'm so excited to have these growing up the trellis before too long. I'm pretty stoked. This is the spot here where I'm missing the tomato that I had to pull, and so I'm just letting the one grow over there. So you can kind of see here, it's just got a weird gangly growth pattern, and I can't remember the name of it, but Lori had told me that she was concerned that I might have this pesticide or herbicide present in my garden, and I don't know if I do, but I certainly would not be surprised if I do. It's just got some, I looked it up, and it, you know, gangly growth pattern is part of the symptom, so I don't know. If I did end up getting that herbicide, it would have definitely come in the 20 yards of soil that I purchased this year, so it's everywhere. Like, there's no getting rid of it. So I hope that is not the case, and I hope that's not what's happening in my garden. But if it is, there's no getting rid of it. I'll just I guess maybe I'll plant a bunch of sunflowers and hope to soak it up. I don't know. And then just kind of walking down here, you can see all of these are the paste tomatoes. This whole bed is just paste tomatoes, and they're growing. And then these ones are just growing. They're just doing their thing. I need to add in the extra 8 feet that's missing from the trellis so I can get these guys up off the ground. I just haven't done it yet. And then over here, this is Carolina Reaper that Robert's been growing. And it's got a lot of fruit set on it. And then these are just the extra tomatoes that we have. And then over here, we planted, these are all summer squash. And these ones are just starting to take off and kind of do their thing. So I'm letting them. And only, what, like 2 of them? Maybe 3 are actually small enough to still cover. And I accidentally, in the heat of the hottest day of the year, I left the cup on these 2 by mistake. And so I'm hoping they'll come back. They don't seem to have completely died by some grace of God. I don't know how that happened, but we'll see how it goes. This here are the tomatoes that I planted a few weeks back, and then we did the trellis the next week. And now, so yeah, it was 2 weeks ago that I planted it. 1 week ago we trellised it, and then this week I actually got the strings on them. They're not tall enough quite yet to reach the trellis. I probably put the trellis a bit too high, but so I just came through and attached them with a string to get them growing in the right direction and make sure they don't flop over. And then over here, we're having great luck. For anybody wondering, for anybody who has slug issues, this cup, covered up at night, removed during the day, has been a godsend for me. I'm not even joking. It is the only reason that I still have starts. Oh, getting eaten alive by mosquitoes. This cup is the only reason that I still have the absolute majority of these starts. Last time they obliterated them. Everything that is small in this garden was wiped out once by slugs. Like, I kid you not, like this entire, everything here except 2 was completely wiped out. Every single one. And there's a lot of ones in this row. And then just a bunch over here. All of these kind of smaller ones, they were all wiped out. Every single one of them. And so these cups, I haven't had a single one get eaten by slugs. And I'm just keeping it on as long as it is the appropriate size. Like this one here, I have covered. Those 2, they're covered. You know, I'm just covering them until they're large enough to kind of fend for themselves. This one did not get eaten by slug. You can see it's still there. It just died. But these things are doing amazing. It's kind of like having a pollinating issue. Like, they're not getting pollinated very well, but it's certainly putting out enough fruit. That's for darn sure. And then here, not so much. I did do some hand pollinating this morning, so we'll see if that helps. Like this guy here is a massive plant. Like, this thing is huge. Like, huge. There's tons of them in there. I don't know if you can quite grasp how many's in here, but it's a lot. This one especially is having a pollination issue. Like, it's just nothing is getting pollinated, and they're all just dying. So, but the gray zucchini And then these, there's an 8-ball. It's not an actual 8-ball, but it's like an 8-ball. What on earth is that? Whatever it is no more. What are you? That's weird. But it's like an heirloom version of the 8-ball. And then Ron Denise, doing fantastic. And then this is all of our kind of bigger squash. These ones are going gangbusters, pumping out fruit all over the place. I hand pollinated the ones here that I could find this morning. I finally planted this thing last night. It is still a mess because last night I was tortured for like 2 hours while I was planting this thing by mosquitoes, and it was hot and I was sweaty and sticky and it was just awful. Like I almost like lost my cool, and I don't lose my cool very often. I have a pretty long fuse, and I was to the end of my rope last night planting these, so there was no way I was going to bring you guys along and show you. But I did get everything planted. I got everything covered. Oh, I forgot to take these off of here this morning. Just 2 of them. Okay. So I need to get all this stuff cleaned up. I'll do that today. But I was just, as soon as I finished, I just cut and run inside. It was terrible torture. I was so irritated. But we got them all planted, and I have it set up to where each block is the same thing. I have 2 melons and 2 cucumbers. Like, here's a melon, and there's a melon, there's a cucumber, there's a cucumber. And to the best of my stalking ability, they are the same on both sides. So, and then this side is more zucchino rampicantes and the loofahs and what else? Armenian yardlong. And then towards the center is more of the slicers, and then towards that side is more of the pickling cucumbers. And then also this side has the melons that I don't anticipate I'll enjoy as much, and then this side is the ones that I anticipate I'll enjoy more. And I did it that way because this side gets more morning sun, and then this side is more afternoon sun. So that's kind of how I set it up. I anticipate this is going to be a really interesting experiment. I anticipate that it will be very visually evident which side of the garden is better to grow on, because it's going to be this big long tunnel with very bushy big plants, and so we'll kind of just be able to see, how well it grows. Like I said, I anticipate this side will grow better because it's morning sun, and a little bit into the afternoon, but then probably around 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, something like that, it just kind of turns off and it gets shaded, whereas the sun over here starts later but goes later. So, and the zinnias are just getting started. They're puny little guys though. That's a heck of a zinnia, isn't it? Frustrating. But hopefully it'll start doing better. Hopefully. We'll see how it goes. And then we have some nasturtiums on the back there. I'm gonna need to come through and water those. And then we have beans, verbinia, I can't remember what those are. Some sunflowers. This is supposed to be Sweet William, but you can see nothing's here. We got tomatoes and marigolds with a little bit of beans on the edge here. And then some African daisies, which aren't doing very well. And then this is some gardenia. Gloriosa daisy. And then we have some nasturtiums along the back here. And then there's some calendulas here that are just starting to flower. Same thing here. So these are a touch of red. Calendula. And just kind of the same pattern. Ooh, these African daisies are doing great. They're doing wonderful. And then more tomatoes. And then the places that I need to plant kind of some of the more sprawling stuff is like in the tomato beds. I need to plant something that's going to sprawl out this way. I just haven't done it yet. This bed is a really big surprise. It was nothing the other day, We just have some calendula, doing great, and bachelor's button, pink and blue. And then we have some pole beans that are growing up the back there. That is pretty much it for the garden today. I'm just gonna go through. It's just about to get dark and I'm getting just eaten alive by mosquitoes. That is one thing about it. Ever since I switched over to Whole Foods plant-based, I'm just getting destroyed by mosquitoes. I didn't used to get eaten, like, ever. Like, I would maybe get like one mosquito bite a week. And now, ever since I've gone Whole Foods plant-based, like, as the time has gone on, I am just progressively getting more and more and more mosquito bites. I think it's a B12 thing. I've heard in the past, sorry, just more mosquitoes. I've heard in the past that B12 in your blood can be a determining factor as to whether or not you get mosquito bites. And it's never been something that I've paid much attention to. And I think that's because up until recently, I've been very heavily meat-based, like to the point of like a year of carnivore and just on keto forever. So I think that's I feel like there might be some validity to it, especially given that that now that I'm just doing the Whole Foods plant-based and I have not been supplementing with B12, which now I'm going to, but I've kind of just been going off my reserves for the most part, and I think the mosquitoes have sucked out all my B12. So I am going to absolutely start supplementing with that. But it's an interesting side note, like if I do start supplementing, or when I start supplementing, if I do get less of a reaction for mosquitoes, I'll let you guys know. Be an interesting thing to note on that one. I think that's about it for the garden this week, and I will bring you back next week and let you know for the next, certainly at least month or two. I don't plan on having much content apart from like my weekly kind of garden vlogs, because like I said, that's just all that I have the time to muster. If my schedule should lighten and I have time to do some editing or things like that, I will get out another Tuesday video for you guys. But keep checking back every Friday and we'll get you guys another gardening vlog and walkthrough, tour, whatever the garden decides to throw our way, I will let you know. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please do give it a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and we'll see you next week. Bye.